Now, here's some really interesting news that I find fascinating. If you have friends or family who are depressive, bipolar, mood swings, up, down, whatever you want to call it, and if they are on medication, you know that can be very difficult to try to track and to train because medications stop working. You have to try a new medication, and then you add a medication, and many people who are severely depressive are on 2 or 3, 4, sometimes 5 different medications to try to get the chemicals in their brain sorted correctly. And it's not really a scientific method. There's a lot of guessing that goes into it. Is this going to work or is that going to work? And then you put on a new medication, and then it takes 4 to 6 weeks to find out if it works or not. Now, sometimes you have a really bad reaction right away, and you say, no, not this one. This one makes me feel suicidal. Or this one makes me feel like a ghost. Or this one wears me out. And some doctors will say, okay, we'll fix it. Or some doctors will say, your body's getting used to it. Just wait a couple more weeks and then come back. And that's difficult. That's very terrible to try to tolerate. Well, now there's a change. Where doctors have found a way to test your blood, and your blood will tell the doctor if you are depressed or not. And I believe that the idea is to get very specific and find out what kind of depression and break it down, and then you prescribe the medication to what your blood is doing and not to how you're expressing yourself in a therapy session with your doctor. So it takes all the guesswork out of it. It makes it a medically solvable solution, result, answer, instead of being a puzzle of a jumble, where sometimes a piece is missing, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it's a guessing game, and it's trying to figure out the secrets of the pyramids. Find out what the Sphinx really means. Because people are sometimes not reliable reporters. Oh, I feel great. I feel depressive. And to get people to be honest and say what's happening. Some people can't express what they're feeling. Well, I feel blah. Well, what exactly does blah mean? Well, blah. I can't get up in the morning. And so the doctor tried to pull it out. What does that mean? And to try to find a medication that works. And then you find a medication that works. And then in a year or 2 or 3 or 5, it stops working. And you have to change your medication again. And you start all over. And it's not just stop taking this and take this. It's we have to wean you off of this. And then we have to start you on this. And it's a roller coaster. So this new blood research for depression builds off previous studies by several investigators that have shown in humans and animal models that depression is consistent with decreased adenyl silase, a small molecule inside the cell that is made in response to neurotransmitters such as serotonin and epinephrine. When you are depressed, adenyl silase is low. The reason that it is attenuated is that the intermediary protein that allows the neurotransmitter to make adenyl cyclase, GS-alpha, is stuck in a cholesterol-rich matrix of the membrane, a lipid raft, and they don't work very well. The new study, a novel peripheral biomarker for depression and antidepressant response published in Molecular Psychiatry, has identified the cellular biomarker for translocation of GS-alpha from lipid rafts. The biomarker can be identified through a blood test. Very interesting. Complicated idea, but very interesting. What we have developed is a test that can not only indicate the presence of depression, but it can also indicate therapeutic response with a single biomarker. And that is something that has not existed before. It's just joyous. If you're a depressed person, or you have family, people you know depressed, someone suicidal, someone feeling down, you don't even need to talk to them. Just take their blood and look at it. Oh boy, this is missing. We need to add that. Here's how we fix it. And sometimes people who are suicidal or psychotic can't express themselves. So now their blood can speak for them. Researchers hypothesize they will be able to use this blood test to determine if antidepressant therapies are working, perhaps as soon as 1 week after beginning treatment. Previous research has shown that when patients showed improvement in their depression symptoms, the G's alpha was out of the lipid raft. However, in patients who took antidepressants but showed no improvement in their symptoms, the G's alpha was still stuck in the raft. Meaning simply having antidepressants in the bloodstream is not good enough to just improve symptoms. So that's important too. You have to have the right thing to get your raft moving. Get out of the fat raft. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different physiology. A blood test may be able to show whether or not the G's alpha was out of the lipid raft after 1 week. Because platelets turn over in 1 week, blood platelets, you would see a change in people who were going to get better. You'd be able to see the biomarker that should presage successful treatment for antidepressant. Currently, patients and their physicians have to wait several weeks, sometimes months, absolutely true, to determine if antidepressants are working or not. And then, when it's determined they're not working, you have to start all over again. About 30% of people, and that's a lot, don't get better. Their depression doesn't resolve. Perhaps failure begets failure, and both doctors and patients make the assumption that nothing's going to work. Most depression is diagnosed in primary care doctors' offices, not psychiatrists' offices. Primary care physicians are determining depression. Not a good look. Diagnosed in primary care doctors' offices where they don't have sophisticated screening. However, with this new blood test for depression, a doctor, a primary care physician, could say, gee, they look like they're depressed, but their blood doesn't tell us they are. Maybe we need to re-examine this from a different perspective. That's all a big wow. Big changes coming. There is hope for depressive people. And for suicidal people. People who are not feeling well. Is it depression or is it something else? Oh, I feel depressed. Oh, the doctor writes you a prescription. But what if you're not really depressed chemically? Maybe your blood doesn't reveal that you're depressed at all. And that's what they're saying. These primary care physicians can say, okay, well, we did a blood test. And the blood says you're not depressed in a way that an antidepressant could help you. So is there something else out there? Talking to someone, therapy. Is there something else at play that's making you feel bad? These are the important factors that make a life worth living and that make a story worth being told. And it can be a very difficult experience waiting for a diagnosis of depression, because right now you just go to a doctor, a psychiatrist. If you can get in, I mean, these psychiatrists, from what my friends tell me, it's very difficult to find a good psychiatrist who accepts your insurance, because they don't want to accept insurance. Doctors today, many of them don't want to deal with the insurance companies because it takes too long to get paid back, and they don't get paid back enough. So if you want psychiatric help from an MD, you pay for it yourself out of pocket. And I know people who pay $180 to see a doctor for 10 minutes. There was one woman friend of mine who was told by her psychiatrist, well, we accept your insurance, but your copay is $300. And she said, I'm feeling desperate. What do I do? Well, you can go across the street and go to the ATM and take out $300 and bring it to us. We don't take credit cards or checks for a copay. It's true. Doris says, great advice in the treatment of depression. I agree with you 100%. It's so much safer. Because these people who do not feel well become, for a better term, a guinea pig. Will this work? Well, this won't work. Well, I don't know. And television, boy, oh boy, oh boy, that's filled with all kinds of commercials and thought-provoking things. You can feel better and take this medication and that medication and all of these side effects. And these people who are desperate to feel better go to their doctors and say, well, what about this medication? I saw it advertised on television last night. Well, we could try that. And the doctors really don't care too much because they know the medication is probably safe. So they're willing to try whatever you want to try most times. Oh, you think that'll make you feel better? You had a connection to that commercial? Well, okay. We'll see what happens. And then it takes a long time to really find out if it's working or not. And there are other people who have temporary depressions. Like the COVID pandemic. People are depressed. They're sad. Well, is it true depression, blood depression, or is it just a general feeling of malaise? Well, we don't know yet, but maybe we will with a test like this. And this is good news because it takes the judgment factor out of it. The quantification of feelings out of it, at least initially. Are you clinically depressed? Blood test says yes. Okay, so we know where the depression is, and here's the medication to fix it. If the answer is no, then we need to find some other way to get you feeling better, which is very helpful in itself. We know it's not this. We know it's something else. People who have heart attacks, and they get sent home, and many of them fall into a deep depression because they're facing the end of their lives. They're facing death. They're facing the possibility of the unknown that they never had to face before, and it makes them depressed. Well, are they blood depressed, or are they just feelings depressed? Or is their heart still recuperating for them? We don't know. It's all guessing. And a lot of doctors will just give you a little antidepressant, if you ask for it, to pep up your mood, which is probably not the way to do. Properly prescribe an antidepressant to either a depressed person or a person who just wants a little kick. But that's medicine today. Some doctors get paid money for new medications that they prescribe. So you have to be careful of that too. Who do you trust? You don't know. You have to trust yourself. Do your own research. And I would give you the link to that research, but there is no link. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. I found the report on all the links that go to the article are unfound. But I'll keep looking. And with that, it appears that we have reached the end of this wonderful live stream today. I've enjoyed our time together. You can send me an email, david@boles.tv, B-O-L-E-S period TV. You can find me on Twitter, @DavidBoles, Facebook, BOLES, the Instagram, Boles Books, the TikTok, Boles TV as well. And if you have a question you'd like to ask Jana Marie about American Sign Language or disability or finding jobs for folks who are disabled, you can email her directly, jana@boles.tv. I thank you for being here today. I enjoy your company. And I hope we'll see you tomorrow, right here, bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern. Have a good rest of the day, night, or wherever you are in the world. May you sleep well and wake up healthy. I'll see you tomorrow.